The game opens with white establishing central control, a standard and solid start. Black responds in kind, contesting the center and setting up a symmetrical pawn structure. White develops a knight towards the center, aiming for piece activity. Black mirrors white's development, keeping the position balanced. White's move is a slight inaccuracy, potentially weakening the kingside structure. Black solidifies the kingside with, preparing for kingside fianchetto. White develops the bishop to a fianchetto position, aiming for long-range influence. Black mirrors white's bishop development, activating their piece on the long diagonal. White reinforces the center with, preparing for pawn advances. Black develops a pawn to, opening lines for their dark squared bishop. White places the bishop in an active central square. Black supports the central pawn structure with. White's move is a slight inaccuracy, potentially overextending in the center. Black develops a knight to a strong central outpost. White brings another knight into play, aiming for central control. Black repositions the knight, increasing central pressure. White develops the bishop to an active diagonal. Black's knight move to is a slight inaccuracy, not ideal placement. White castles, securing the king and preparing to connect the rooks. Black initiates a pawn exchange, simplifying the central structure. White recaptures with the bishop, maintaining piece harmony. Black centralizes the knight to an active square. White repositions the bishop to a more protected square. Black's bishop move to is a mistake, allowing white a positional advantage. White's is a mistake, a passive move that forfeits initiative. Black's bishop moves to, eyeing the central pawns. White maneuvers the knight to an edge square, a slight inaccuracy. Black exchanges knights, simplifying the game. White recaptures with the queen, centralizing it. Black castles, securing the king. White's is a slight inaccuracy, a slow pawn move. Black pushes a pawn, creating queenside space. White's rook move to the d-file is a slight inaccuracy. Black centralizes the queen, activating it on the queenside. White initiates a kingside pawn push, aiming for space. Black advances a pawn on the queenside, challenging white's structure. White reinforces the center with a pawn push. Black challenges the center with a pawn advance. White captures the pawn, opening a file. Black recaptures, maintaining pawn symmetry. White recaptures, aiming to control the open file. Black recaptures, activating their pawn. White advances a kingside pawn, creating space. Black repositions the queen, adding support to the queenside. White captures the pawn on the kingside, opening lines. Black recaptures, challenging white's pawn structure. White places a rook on the central file, increasing pressure. Black activates their rook on the queenside file. White pushes a central pawn, opening lines for attack. Black advances a central pawn, a slight inaccuracy that concedes space. White pushes a kingside pawn, creating attacking possibilities. Black exchanges pawns in the center, simplifying. White recaptures, opening the kingside file further. Black advances a kingside pawn, preparing for further action. White repositions the bishop, preparing to exchange pieces. Black activates the bishop, placing it on a central diagonal. White advances a kingside pawn, creating potential mating threats. Black advances a kingside pawn, aiming to counterattack. White captures the pawn, opening lines for the queen. Black exchanges the bishop for the knight, simplifying into an endgame. White places the bishop back into play, maintaining development. Black centralizes the queen, increasing pressure on white's position. White captures the pawn, removing a central defender. Black recaptures with the queen, challenging white's center. White centralizes the queen, aiming for an equal endgame. Black repositions the queen, preparing for potential exchanges. White offers a queen exchange, simplifying towards a drawn position. Black accepts the queen exchange, leading to an endgame. White recaptures the pawn with the rook, opening a file. Black recaptures with the king, consolidating their position. White's is a severe blunder, sacrificing a rook for no compensation. Black's is a severe blunder, failing to capitalize on white's mistake. White repositions the rook, aiming for better coordination. Black develops the bishop, adding defense to their king. White captures the pawn, centralizing the bishop. Black exchanges rooks, simplifying the endgame. White recaptures the rook, maintaining material equality. Black's pawn push is a mistake, weakening their central pawn structure. White's is a mistake, returning the favor by weakening their pawn. Black centralizes the king, activating it in the endgame. White advances a kingside pawn, creating potential passed pawns. Black's is a mistake, failing to defend properly. White advances a kingside pawn, pushing it towards promotion. Black activates the bishop, contesting key squares. White advances the kingside pawn, continuing its march. Black repositions the rook, improving its activity. White develops the bishop to an active square, supporting the pawn push. Black repositions the rook, seeking counterplay. White develops the bishop to a strong central outpost. Black checks with the rook, forcing the king into a less secure position. White moves the king to safety, maintaining control. Black's rook move to is a slight inaccuracy, not the most effective placement. White's is a mistake, allowing black to improve their position. Black centralizes the king, seeking active endgame play. White develops the bishop to a key diagonal, threatening black's king. Black's is a severe blunder, allowing white a decisive advantage. White's is a severe blunder, moving the king into danger. Black's is a slight inaccuracy, not optimizing the piece's potential. White repositions the bishop, maintaining pressure. Black's is a severe blunder, losing significant material. White advances the king, consolidating the winning advantage. Black's is a severe blunder, allowing white to overwhelm. White develops the bishop to a strong outpost, increasing pressure. Black exchanges the bishop, a slight inaccuracy in a lost position. White recaptures with the king, consolidating the overwhelming advantage. Black centralizes the king, attempting to survive. White advances the king, securing it and preparing for the final push. Black checks with the rook, a futile attempt to disrupt white's advantage. White captures the pawn with the king, a decisive step towards victory. Black's is a severe blunder, surrendering the game. White promotes a pawn to a queen with check, sealing the victory. Black recaptures with the rook, a forced move. White promotes to a queen, overwhelming black's defenses. Black recaptures with the rook, a desperate move. White recaptures with the rook, maintaining material superiority. Black recaptures with the king, resigned to defeat. White advances the king, bringing it into the final attack.